Hey, what's going on? Evan here, and I'm going to be showing you how to export your camera from Houdini to Blender. Now, typically this isn't difficult, but I'm going to be showing you a case in which it could be difficult, which is what happened to me, and it took me a while to figure this out. So hopefully this will help someone else not have to go through the same struggle. So this first step you don't have to do if your animation is on your camera and it's not parented to anything. So if you look at my case scenario, I have my render camera, but there's no keyframes on it, and that's because the animation is coming from another node, because it's parented. And if you export this as an Olympic cache and import it into Blender, you would see a weird structure. You would see scale, then once you go inside the scale, then you'd see fetch, and then you'd see blend, and then you would actually see the camera. So we're gonna avoid all that weird mess by baking the animation into the keyframes. And there's a cool node that does that for us. And in order for that to work, we need a source and then a target. So I'm going to alt click my render cam to duplicate it, and then I'm going to hit Y and then just cut the wire, and I'm going to rename this to baked camera. So this is actually going to be the camera that we're going to be exporting. And really quickly, let me unlock these channels. I don't know if that's going to affect the bake, but I'll just do it just to make sure. And then we're going to switch context. So we're going to go from OBJ to out. And let me delete that and remake it. And so the node that we're looking for is called bake animation. And as I was saying before, we have a source object and then a target object. So the source object we need to choose is the source. So I'm going to be using a render cam, and then we're going to be baking that into our baked camera. And this is actually just using chops, and this is a digital asset. If you go inside, you can see that it's setting it up for you. But we're not going to be looking at that because no one really knows how to use chops. It's too complicated. All right, and there's one other setting that we need to use. It is, where is it? World transform. Yeah, if we don't have that on, then it's not going to work. And let me also just switch this to use start end, and then I'm going to hit render. And that went really quickly. Go back to OBJ level, and here's our camera that is fully keyframed out, and I'm going to actually just switch to baked camera and play it, and we can see that it is working. So if you just had your animation done normally with all your keyframes on the camera, then this would be the step that you start at. I'm going to go to file, and then I'm going to do export and then the Olympic. You want to make sure that you choose your object. By default, it exports everything, and so click this button and then just choose the camera that you want to export, and then make sure you have your frame range set to the correct amount. So I'm going to go ahead and hit export, and that is all for now in Houdini. So now I'm going to open up Blender. Alright, so I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to delete the default cube and the default camera, and I'm going to import a plate model, and that's just going to be used to check to see if our camera is actually animated correctly. There we go. So here's the plate, and now we can import the camera. So we're going to do import Olympic again and camera. And here we can see that our camera has been imported, and it doesn't have that weird hierarchy that I was talking about before. And let's make sure that it's actually working. So let's actually look through the camera, and there's a few things that we need to change. This probably won't be the problem in your case, but I actually need to change it to vertical video. So I'm going to do 1080 by 1920. And let's add that image sequence to make sure that the camera is actually animated perfectly. And is that working? All right, perfect. Now I think the first issue is that I believe Blender is 24 frames a second. I think my footage is 30. So I'm gonna go change that really quickly to 30, and that should fix it. Now there is one more issue. Go to the camera settings, which is right down here, and go to, let's see, where is it? Camera, and then see where it says sensor fit. We need to switch this to horizontal, and then that should fix that issue. And now we can see that the camera animation is working because the plate is tracked perfectly in place. And the reason why that we want to switch this to horizontal is because if we look at Houdini again and go to our camera settings, we can see that the aperture is 24.89. And so that's the horizontal, what's called the Houdini. I don't know why they call it aperture. It makes no sense, but this is I believe this is the horizontal dimension of the film sensor. And so, yeah, that's why it says width right there, and then 24.89. That's just this value right here. And so that's why we need to switch that. I don't know why it's on auto by default, but yeah, once you switch it, it should start working. And that's pretty much it. All right, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. And if there's anything else that you can think of that I didn't cover, or if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below. Thank you.